Back up in the winner circle, it's the hater herder. If you're searching for the champions, then don't look any further. I'm the hardest worker, came from under Cadillac converter. Came to like 'em, killed 'em like a murder. Certain in the crime, how we put it down. Never be scared of the grind. Next to every time, if we overtime, I don't sweat it, I'm just in my prime. Go to work, 9 out of 9, I handle mine. Trying to find a way to copy system.
Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, Dino Brown. And when you see us on the screen, you already know what it means. It's DEVY DARLING. And I got my guy, D now. He's back, a.k.a. Mr. Get It Done. 2 in a row, my man. What's cracking?
Not much. I'm excited to talk about this guy because I'm still kind of on the fence about him. You know how I feel. So I want you to sway me the right way. So
I love the episodes like this because, you know, a lot of the times we mostly agree on the guys. I mean, we agree here on the talent, right? But we might not agree on what we've seen so far with that talent. But I think this is going to be a good episode. Right? I've been a fan of this kid. I spoke to you in the green room. I spoke to my boy, Boys 22, my buddy Kevin, multiple times about this kid, and I'm like, I feel like he's supposed to be this kid at the top. Am I crazy? And he's like, no, I think he might take a little more to get to it, but he has the skills, let's say. All right, let's talk about him. It's Makai Lemon, USC wide receiver, 6 foot, 180 pounds, 4-star recruit, you know, highly touted wide receiver, you know, number 7 in the class, in the 2023 class, top 4 player in California. We all know that's like, you know, the top 5 when it comes to states for football and in high school. Los Alamitos High School in California. 2-way player. Kid's legit. You know what I mean? We want to. If everybody's infatuated with the Travis Hunters of the world, he literally. A lot of these scouts said he could play DB at the next level and chose to go the wide receiver route because he has that much skill and that much talent. 2021 Cal High All-State first team, 2022 All-CIF Division I team, 2022 Max Preps All-American first team, 2022 Max Preps California All-State first team, played in the Polynesian Bowl, played in the Under Armour All-American Bowl. You know, this kid had so many offers. Talk to me about it before we get into this high school tape.
Yeah, so everybody and their mother wanted this kid to come play for him. He had 20-plus offers. He originally committed to Oklahoma, decided to decommit, go to USC, but he had offers from the big guys, Georgia, Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, Texas. My guy Kenny G down in Arkansas decided to try to recruit him. But he eventually switched to USC, enrolled in March of 23 there.
Yeah, and this, you know, this is a kid like he's highly touted because we're going to talk about this gaudy numbers this kid put up. Like, I'm talking about all 3 phases of the game. This kid was just dominating, and he even threw a couple passes here and there. You saw it a little bit, you know, at USC this year alone. Man, now I understand why there was so many offers. Now I understand why I was when I saw a little bit of the film, I was infatuated with like, I saw like 2 games where I was like, this kid is just something, just jumping off the screen. Just talk to me about freshman year. Freshman year, he was putting up numbers varsity.
Yeah, so 4-year starter in Cali automatically checks that box right there. As a 14-year-old, he had 57 receptions, 784 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaged 13.8 yards per catch. He had 3 rushes, 33 yards, 9 kick returns for 96 yards. And like you said, defensive starter as well, 25 tackles, 4 interceptions. Sophomore year kind of took a little bit of a little slip, only 43 receptions, 756 yards, 9 touchdowns. He increased his yards per catch, 17.6. Defensively, 15 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 4 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. And then his junior year happened. And just looking at these numbers, you can tell this is when he started developing. Yeah. Probably grew like 5 inches on top of it. Junior year, 65 receptions, almost 1,100 yards.
Stupid.
15 touchdowns, 16.3 yards per catch. He had 4 rushes, only 6 yards. 28 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 8 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. And he had 12 kick returns for about 350 yards. And then his senior year, 69 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 15.1 yards per catch, 3 attempts, 15 yards, 12 tackles, interception, a pass breakup, and 8 kick returns for 267 yards. I like how he was consistent defense-wise, though. It was 15 to 25 tackles, almost 4 interceptions every single year, multiple pass breakups. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll get into the play attributes in a second, but I mean, he has the football IQ, he has the vision, it's there, and him playing both ways in high school and being productive both sides of the ball helps him. Like he sees what they're trying to set him up before he starts to see the signs ahead of time. Like I said, I just because it's recency bias, I want to talk about. I mean, Charles Woodson did the same thing when he played at Michigan. There's been other guys we spoke about that have done it, maybe not as dominant or as many reps that Travis Hunter did, but Travis Hunter is the most recent guy to play both ways. I think Makai Lemon could probably play both ways if he really wanted to for USC. But as a receiver, I believe we started to see everything that I saw on film, you saw on film, from this freshman season through these first 2 years at USC. I see a twitchy wide receiver. I see a guy that's an instant separator. However he wants to do it, right? It doesn't have to be that one-trick pony. I mean, he can get you at the line of scrimmage. He's a great route runner. All 9 routes in the tree he can run. This is the thing that jumped off the screen to me. The deceleration and acceleration in and out of cuts. There's no hiccup, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's just smooth like butter. Bang, bang, and then next thing you know, in and out the cut. Here we go. Yeah, I already have separation. I already passed your hip. I've already made that turn. We're all committed with you haven't. The defender's still trying to figure out which way to go. Which way is he going to commit to? Makai's already gone that way. He's got great hip fluidity. Body control is elite. Like, this is the thing I say. When he's in his routes and he's making his cuts, he's not like Merton Hanks. You know what I mean? It's not like a spaghetti noodle out there. A lot of these wide receivers, it's all about, and I like this guy. I follow him a lot. I watch a lot of his videos, like the route guide, and a lot of these college kids he's doing school, scores and stuff. They're all twitched up, but their heads bobbing around all over the place, and they're trying to get in. And one of the things he says is like, yo, you gotta stay solid. You gotta make it move, but like your head can't be all over the place. This kid has that. His cuts are crisp. His head is tight. It's not like on a noodle, like I said earlier. Soft hands, probably could catch an egg, but he attacks the ball, which is the grande of what you want. You want to be able to attack it, but not, the ball hit him in the hands, go flying. This kid just boom, takes it in. Like I said, wins at the line of scrimmage with speed and footwork. He weaves through traffic well, and his run after the catch, like I said, it's just elite. And it's not like, I'll say it now, and I said it to you in the green room. He is what he does without the 4.3, low 4, high 4.27, 4.28 speed. He's everything that everybody wanted Zachary Branch to be. He's going to prove that, I think, to you in 2025. But we're starting to see it slowly. You saw it, from middle season on. This kid has the total package. Hopefully, the USC, offensive coach and our guy, like O'Reilly, can release him and let him explode this season. But I think we started to see him drooling and foaming at the mouth this year, and games where he wanted to take over, and down the stretch he started to take over. Talk to me about these attributes before we get into these years at USC.
Yeah, so first thing that I saw too running, which is kind of why I changed my comps, great route runner, all 9 yards. Super underrated. Not a lot of wide receivers nowadays can run all 9.
Yeah.
So that immediately stuck out to me. And then you know how I feel about guys getting on the field any way possible. So the two-way special teams and all that immediately checks the box for me. So,
I mean, he had multiple big returns for them this year in special teams. I think he might even had like a long of 80 yards or something on a kick return. So like he's doing it any way he can. He didn't play any defense. He did freshman season, I believe, but we'll talk about that now. Talk to me about, freshman year, and then we'll get into this season. Yeah,
so freshman year, and I think I'm going to preface this. I think this is kind of what turned me off initially from Mr. Lemon. 8 targets, 6 receptions, only 88 yards. He had 14.7 yards per catch. So immediately being one of the bigger names guys.
Yeah.
Kind of a red flag for me.
He's going to pull a Jury and Dickey on us, right?
Yeah. which we talked about that
Yeah.
before. He did play defense. He had 3 tackles. He had 5 kick returns for 94 yards. But when he was on defense, he was only targeted twice. So looking back on this, I'm surprised he did stay the offensive route because obviously he's kind of locked down on defense too. Yeah. So
he's got the talent, like I said. I mean, it kind of goes under the radar because he was a top 10, wide receiver in the class. But I mean, the kid can play ball, and they asked him to play ball and play both ways freshman year. I think the room was a little more crowded. He had the class that came in with him, plus there was a few in front of him.
Yeah,
Dorian Singer and a few others. So didn't work out freshman year, but boy, did he have a good 2024.
Yeah, so 2024, we were talking, he started off pretty good, but that back half was electric. He finished the year 67 targets, 52 receptions, 764 yards, 3 touchdowns. Stayed consistent, 14.7 yards per catch. He had 19 kick returns for just a little over 500, and like you said, he had that long of 80. He worked mostly out of the slot, 85%. Of his 764 yards, 379 of that was yak. He had an ADOT of 10.1. He accounted for 34 first downs. He had 13 missed tackles forced. He had a 46.2% contested catch, or 6 out of 13. What really stuck out to me was he only had the 1 drop. And then he had a 77.6% catch percentage, which was the best among the USC receivers. His 67 targets was second most for USC, and his 52 receptions was the most for any of the USC wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally the top rated wide receiver for them that year. I mean, and now this year, the room that was where he dominated, outside of like the red zone, because like I said, Lane was the guy. Gonna have a little bit of a void in it, But let's talk about these. You said the loaded second half of the year. I mean, there was a QB switch, right? And we talked about it in the green room. The first 3 weeks of the year was caca, bro. Him and Miller Moss were struggling to get on the same page, and he was struggling to eat with that loaded room. Then we saw the Washington game, the Rutgers game, and then that's the kind of what like the breakout was. Even the Maryland game, he had 8 for 89. Rutgers, he had the big touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, 4 for 134. But then it was week 10. I think this is more the coming out party. Washington was a solid team on defense. I said to you, we'll see what he does this year when he's facing the ones. They were throwing everybody at him because he was just dominating whatever DB safety that they put on him. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 7 yards, a touchdown. Against Notre Dame, okay? He was surgical in this game. And like I said, they even put Xavier Watts on him. He is a safety, but he was a top safety in the nation, right? Going to be one of the top safeties drafted. And he was spinning dude around like a top. Christian Gray, who was filling in as well, they had no answer. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 133 yards. Again, continuing to stack down the stretch here as he builds a connection with his returning quarterback, Jayden Maiava, in the Las Vegas Bowl against A&M, right? Marcel Reed played, right? They had a lot of guys play, even on defense. Now, I get it. Schmitzer didn't play, but he didn't really play much for them in 2 seasons anyway at A&M, right? So he still went off. 10 targets, 6 receptions, 99 yards. What I thought was great was the Notre Dame game and the Texas A&M game when it was 3rd and long, 3rd and short. It didn't matter what it was. They were going a homeboy. Now, granted, some of these guys weren't playing, but Kyle Ford was playing, right? And Kyle Ford was starting to ignite it towards, the end of the season. We talked about he should have been playing more for them earlier on. So this kid was earning and making them manufacture targets to him. And he was the one, putting them on the back, continue to get first downs, continue to keep, drives alive. I mentioned Lane. He's returning, senior. He had 535 yards, 12 touchdowns. He was, the red zone guy, the deep ball guy. Like he was that guy for them. Zakhari Branch, he's gone. He went to Georgia, right? He had 503 yards of touchdown. Lemon outdid him this year alone. You know what I mean? Hudson, He had 462 yards, 3 touchdowns. That dude's at Penn State. I think that's it. Good move from my man, right? Al's got a weapon now. Deuce Robinson, I don't know if this was the best idea for him. He transferred to Florida State. He had 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. So now, just a quick glance, right? Kyle Ford graduated, so there's another guy that's going. You're looking at somewhere around like 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns voided. I mean, yes, there's guys that are coming in, right? We know that. Prince, my guy Prince Stratham coming in from Boise State. He had 300 yards and a touchdown last year. The year before, he only played in 3 games, but he was a big play guy. And then they get that 4-star recruit that comes in, Corey Sims from Christian Brothers, top 50 ranked wide receiver. His junior year, he had over 1,000 yards. I just look at that, right? Lake McCree comes back, but when has a tight end in USC been dominant, right? It's been a while. So
almost 20 years, yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at a kid that's checking all the boxes for me, can run all of the routes in the tree, can work out of the slot, developed, chemistry with a quarterback that is returning to him. They got a lot of guys up front coming back, right? I'm not a returning production guy at all, but he has a lot of cards in his favor here going into this hand in 2025. And it seems as though everything's starting to click for the kid, and he's hungry, right? Like, we're talking about a kid that could possibly put himself in the top 3 of the class if he has another, year where he progresses and improves, right? Because he's going to be over 1,000 yards, right? He'd be somewhere in the, probably 75, 80 reception range improving. Now, if the touchdowns get closer to like 8, 9, and 10, I don't think there's anything we can really say about it. Plus, he's a special teamer, right? I mean, at that point, he's doing everything we really want him to do. The production is there. Without this room being crowded as it was, the fact that he ate and was pretty much leading in all statistical categories outside of touchdowns last year kind of speaks for itself. But I think we're about that coming up. I think it's going to be a big neon sign in Southern California, lit up in yellow with lemon on it. I think in 2025. Let's get into the comps, my friend.
All right.
You were going to say something? Did you?
I was.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if I could he's going to have to wow the hell out of me if he's going to be a top 3 guy in his class. Because I guess the way I look at it, you got the duo in Clemson. You got, yep. Okay. You got the stacked room in LSU. You got wide receiver U is always going to pump out someone with Ohio State. So I think, and I'm going to go on record, Ohio State is wide receiver U for all you people. I think he's going to have to probably push close to at least 1,200 yards and 10 to 13 touchdowns at least to make that kind of jump.
Okay. All right. I meant his class as in his recruiting class.
Okay. So I guess that's where I thought you meant overall.
He should be. He has, and I'll plant this flag. I won't retract. He should be top 5 in this draft. If he was to want to go into the draft, he's possible because he can, right? But he's 30 year playing. He's doing. He could if he wanted to, and he has a year where he improves off what he did last year. He should be top 5. Is what I'm saying. Right around there, at least 5 to 7. He should be in there. He may be at 7, but there's a chance it's going to beat one of the guys at Clemson. He should have a better year than one. I'm not saying he's going to have a better year than both. I think he's going to have. So who's the 2 for you? Randall and Clemson? Is that what you're talking about? Randall and Williams? Or are you talking the other guy? The freshman. Well, he's a sophomore now.
The sophomore, yeah. I'm drawing a blank name-wise, but him and Williams.
It starts with a T, his first name. I forget.
Is it Brown?
I'm not
Brown
sure.
Or something like that?
But that's 3 people that got to eat out there. He's at USC, probably going to be the main guy that's good. I know Lane, but
Clemson's about to come home with the Heisman. So
I know that's what I'm hearing. In his class, I think he's going to take.
In his class, yeah, he's got a chance to be top.
I think he's underachieved.
Yes.
Branch, he's already outperformed Branch. Keem Williams hasn't done anything for Florida State. Tate could have a year, right? But he has Jeremiah Smith in front of him.
Yep.
Ennis hasn't really taken that step yet. Noah Rogers, yes, he's doing okay, but he's not playing better than Lemon. And then Jonte Cook, he's having a lot of legal issues at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he needs people in his camp need to kind of help him out, put him in the right direction. Kid has a lot of talent, but seems like it might be getting wasted. So you're looking at, the guys around him.
He's there.
He's a very good chance he could be the one. You know what I mean? If Tate doesn't kind of put his foot on the gas, Lemon right now looks like he's the one. If you're looking at stats and production, he's the one out of that class where he was, in that 7 to 9, depending on what website you were going to.
All right.
He outproduced the number of that guy that was in front of him at the same school, right? Branch was 1.
Oh yeah, Branch. Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into comps. I thought of a lot of guys. I could have went with the easy layup and Curtis Samuel type comp, right? Because how he's used as Swiss Army knife or whatever. But with the route running, with the twitchiness, maybe not so much the speed. One of my comps, guy's ridiculously fast, but he wasn't ridiculously fast when he came into the NFL. He got faster somehow. I don't know how, but he got faster as his time went on in the NFL. So this is a high ceiling, high floor, but I think he reminds me of Zay Flowers and Tyreek Hill kind of merged together, right? Like the twitchiness that Zay has, the way he can play in the slot, can also play on the outside, works, between the hashes very well. Deceleration, acceleration, there's no hiccup in between. And both of those guys are very smooth when it comes to getting in and out. Again, look at Zay Flowers, over 3,000 yards, almost 30 touchdowns. Ended up being a first-round pick. Tyreek Hill went to Oklahoma State for a year. He was kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? He had over 100 attempts on the ground, 500 yards. He had 30 receptions, close to 300 yards. He was a kick returner, right? 30 kick returns for 700 yards. Then he went to West Alabama. Didn't put up crazy numbers out there. He had some, wow. Okay, I see. He's pulling up. He was a special teamer as well, and he was burning people on the outside. But again, West Alabama, right? But went to the NFL and almost broke the single season record, right? He's been dominant, top 3 to 5 wide receiver for at least 5 to 7 years now, I would say. But the way he plays, right? The explosiveness, in and out of cuts, crisp route runner, can work all over the field, can play on the outside if necessary, but can play also on the inside. And like I said, combination of both of those guys. I think we're going to see it. I think in 2025 we're going to see the full package from Makai Lemon. Talk to me about your comps and what do you think about my guys?
I love the Zay Flowers comps. I guess I haven't seen enough of the tape to, I guess, click with the Tyreek. But I mean, you probably watched 10 times as amount of tape as I do. So, but the Zay Flowers, the gadget sort of that we saw some at BC and we saw a little bit up in Baltimore. So I like that comp.
With Tyreek, it's like how they can use him in the short and intermediate game. And Lemon in the short and intermediate game is a killer. Like the bubble screens, right? And getting him any way you can, get him in motion, get him in these short, ins and outs. Lemon can dominate in that fact. And then once he starts cooking you slowly, then we can get him over the top, right? So in that aspect of it, like I said, not just so much the speed of Tyreek, but how Tyreek is used on the field, how he's sure-handed, really doesn't drop the ball.
Yeah.
And anywhere on the field, he can really dominate you. Field general, right? Like the IQ, understands leverage, that part of the game. Take away the speed part of it. I mean, the kid's not slow, but he's not the fastest guy. He's not the cheetah.
Right. Okay. That makes sense then.
All right. Now talk to me about your guys.
So mine is kind of a high ceiling, mid floor sort of. So my ceiling, I went with Stephon Diggs. I had him just because I think he's one of the best route runners in the NFL right now. His time at Maryland, he was kind of used the same way, bubble screens, sort of laterally, and then they beat you down the field with them. Really crisp routes, the inside outside cut sort of that we talked about earlier. And when he gets out of his own heads, I think he has some of the softest, best hands in the NFL too. And then my floor guy that I have is Rashid Shaheed with the Saints right now. We were talking in the green room. Last couple years, he's had multiple breakouts, and people still ain't giving him the credit he's due. Probably one of the more twitchier wide receivers in the NFL right now. Like you said, with the cheetah bubble screens all day, screens in general, and then next thing you know, he's beating you 30 yards down the field before you blink. And then special teams monster too, probably one of the better return guys in the league. And on top of that, they're almost like the exact same build. So when I was watching the tape, and even some of his high school highlights, that was the immediate comp. Staying away from the layups, like you said, like CD, the guys who played for Lincoln and all that stuff. So
I think there's another guy that you had stated before that we're both going to agree on. Outside of like the mental head games, he's not as vocal, but Steve Smith Sr., like the way he played at the NFL, maybe not as so much in college, but he was, he said, I called him the peekaboo in college. Like he would flash it a little bit, and then he would kind of go away, and then he'd flash a little bit. But at the NFL, man, he had a big chip on his shoulder, and the way he played, right, like anywhere on the field didn't matter. You think he was just a slot guy, but he could play on the outside. He could do anything he wanted.
So I did, like you said, I did have him originally. The reason why I kind of went away from him is, I mean, I'm a little younger, so I only saw him with the Panthers, not so much at Utah. But he was more of a mid-route merchant.
Yes.
Like, you did not see him go deep very much. He killed you with his moves once he caught it in the mid, and then he was gone. Where I see Lemon can be more of a deep threat than Steve Smith was.
Yeah, I see that. Like in the Washington game and in the Notre Dame game, you saw it. Like his in between the hash work to get around. Like I'd see him, he'd start line up in the slot on the right side and just fade through man or zone. It didn't matter. He'd figure it out. And then as soon as he would start to get an opening, he'd go towards that. He'd cut back. By that time, he already had the guy turn, or he was off the wrong foot. Right. So now he's already got separation because he's going the right way and the guys are covering. And now boom, now the perfect ball thrown to him, to the right hash mark where he originally started. So he works his way back to it, right? And now he's just gone because he sees the field well. That defensive, playing both ways, that also helps his game as well. Like I said, he sees angles. He's very good laterally, good hip fluidity. I just Steve, after he caught the ball, the way he worked, right? Like he had more of that like hop to him. Yeah. Lemon doesn't have that, but like how we just work the field. Was always looking for that angle, getting leverage. I think Lemon has that, ability to him. A smaller guy, not really a huge receiver, right? But stout in his build where, he wasn't just going to get tapped over or foot tackled and fall over.
So another dude I almost put when I switched was Roy Williams.
From Texas?
Yeah.
He's tall as shit, though.
He is tall, but if you watch him, his first step off the line was elite. Mm-hmm. And then, again, he was, I guess the back half, he was more of a mid route guy. But with that elite step, he burnt you deep.
I loved him. I thought when he got drafted to Detroit, they had a dude, right?
Yeah.
But he started the run of, we drafted the wrong wide receiver for like 5 straight years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good one. I told you this would be an interesting one, be a fun one. Like, you may not be 100% in. I think this is a guy that we might be able to have an episode on to kind of like revisit 2.0 and see where we're at. Maybe midway through the year where we're at. But I think what he's shown to us, I think a lot of people who might have been like you coming into, maybe this episode of this coming season where he hasn't really lived up to hype. Well, maybe he has lived closer to the hype than maybe people are giving him credit for.
Yeah. On that note, are we on the verge of labeling this class wide receivers
a bust?
Like bust? Yeah.
Yeah, we're close. I mean, I need to see. I need to see Branch have a better season. I need to see him kind of give us more of the wow from his freshman year, right? I didn't see as much of that last season.
Like, I'm on the point, like, if a good handful of these guys aren't 1,000+ yard receivers,
yeah,
It's
two out
shocking.
of top 10 haven't seen the field yet. Hakeem Williams and Jeremy Dickey haven't seen the field yet.
Yeah.
Those are huge red flags, bro. Like that. I don't know that instantly he's already jumped over those guys, right?
Yeah.
And both of the guys from Ohio State, Connell Tate had a year this year, right?
I'm confident with Tate.
Yeah, I think Tate will end up being wide receiver 1 from the class in the end. But a lot of mouths to feed over there, and it's not like people are not coming through the door anymore either. You know what I mean? Yeah. Every year there's someone coming in.
There's always someone. Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith was a true freshman. We thought it was going to be Tate's year this year, right? We thought it was going to be Abuka, Tate, and then Jeremiah Smith, because it was like, when's that freshman come in and really done? Well, hey, he's I won't use the G word, but he's better than what we've seen in a long time. I'll leave it at that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, who knows? It's very real chance he could be 1, he could be 2, but he will be, and I think we both can agree, a lot higher than what he was in the class when he originally came in as a freshman.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I'm Nino Brown. That's my guy, Dino. This is Devy Darling on the CFB Nation. We out.
Back up in the winner circle, it's the hater herder. If you're searching for the champions, then don't look any further. I'm the hardest worker, came from under Cadillac converter. Came to like 'em, kill 'em like a murder. Surgeon, been a crime.